Welcome, everyone. Marc Margolius, the Institute for Jewish Spirituality. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good to be together on Friday to sit into Shabbat, as we like to say. For our Friday sits, we meet at this time. For those who don't know, we meet at this time every day on weekdays, Monday through Fridays, except when there's a holiday, or half an hour of Jewish mindfulness meditation practice. Also, we offer our Jewish yoga studio Mondays with Kenner Lissi Shamash at 11 a.m. Please spread the word. Let people know. They're always welcome to check it out, to try it, to join us. All the sessions live streamed on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. All the recordings are posted there as well. And IJS is very happy to offer all these, as we have for almost 3.5 years now, without charge on a drop-in basis. We only can do this because you show up and create this community of practice. Still about 200 folks strong every day, which is quite remarkable. And of course, more on the YouTube as well. So thanks for being here. We're grateful just that you're here. That's enough. Dayenu. Of course, in addition, we are grateful for your financial support, which makes this possible. So if you're so moved to contribute and no amount is too small, we're grateful for your donation, any amount. Thanks to Jordan Pollock, who's holding our tech space today, for putting the link for those who are moved to make a donation to support our practice and our work together. And if you're in a position to offer a gift of $180 or more, you can sponsor one of our daily meditations. And thanks for considering that if you're in a position to do so. I'm going to two quick announcements. One, of course, is that registration is still open, and we really hope, if you haven't signed up, that you will, for the Shofar Project, Getting Real for the New Year. I have the book here. 5 weeks practice with our whole faculty at IJS to get ready for the new Jewish year, with teachings drawn from this remarkable book, This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared, by Rabbi Alan Liu. Highly recommend, whether you sign up or not, that you have this book on your bookshelf and read it each year in advance of Rosh Hashanah. So we are in the last week of the month of Av, and beginning Wednesday night, Thursday, the month of Elul comes in, the last month of the Jewish year, and we are preparing our inner lives together with 5 weeks of practice, a weekly teaching and suggestions for practice from the faculty, a live weekly practice session together, opportunities for a chavruta practice with the reflection questions, and a Google discussion group as well. There's a parallel program for folks in their 20s and 30s called Getting Real for the New Year, led by Rebecca Schisler and Kohenet Kashir Halev Fife. So not too late to sign up. The first email is going to go out Sunday morning. So if you have not signed up for that yet, please do. There's no charge. We welcome donations to support this offering, but there's no charge for the program. So please join the IJS community to get ready for 5784. And then one other announcement I'm just going to put in the chat box. I want to thank Alice Lockman, who I don't think is here today, but sent along a link for those who are interested in making a donation to support those who are struggling with the fires in Maui. I'm going to put that in. I think that's the link for those who would like to make a donation of tzedakah to support the recovery efforts there as well. So I'll put that in. Friends, unfortunately, Rebecca Schisler is under the weather today, so we'll look forward to Rebecca being back next week to lead us in practice, and I'll fill in today for Rebecca. I'd like to offer a practice, since I led a practice. Oh, thanks, Liz. Here's the I'll send it to everybody for those who did not get it. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so as you know, on Friday, we like to say we're sitting into Shabbat together, and that's exactly what I'd like to offer us for our practice today. Just a little bit of text to ground our practice, and the text I'd actually like to use, I'm not going to show it on the screen, just going to reference it and read it, is in the Friday night liturgy, the liturgy that's known as Kabbalat Shabbat. That's a whole separate service that precedes the evening service. It's basically made up of 7 Psalms, one for each day of the week, including Shabbat and Lecha Dodi, and then leads into Mariv. And the first of these Psalms is Psalm 95, which has some challenging language in it, but is very powerful, especially from a mindfulness perspective. It has a line, and this is the line really which I think is just always powerful for me and is an excellent phrase for using to ground ourselves on Friday evening to enter into Shabbat. And remember, this is the first of the 6 Psalms for the 6 weekdays leading into Shabbat. Then we sing Lecha Dodi, and then Psalm 92, the Psalm for Shabbat. Ki hu Eloheinu v'anachnu am marito v'tzon yado. For God, for this is our God, we are the people God tends the flock in God's care. And then there's a phrase, second phrase in that verse in Psalm 95, verse 7, and we'll give you the link later to this passage. And it says, Hayom, today, im bekolo tishma'u. Today, if you would only heed, if you'd only hear the voice, the call, the sound of the divine, if you can only attune to divine, Hayom, today. So offer that as a phrase for grounding our practice, because it brings our attention to the present, which of course is the essence of mindfulness practice. We're practicing, in Jewish terms, we're practicing being in a state of hineni. I am here, I am present, I am 100% present. I am flush with my experience. I am not in the past. I'm not future tripping. I'm right here in this moment, moment by moment. That's our aspiration. That's our kavanah, our intention to be fully present moment to moment. Of course, not really humanly possible to do that. So we have that kavanah, we have that intention, and then we stray from intention. The Hebrew term for straying from intention or missing the mark is chet, usually translated as sin, but literally it means missing the mark, being off course. So when we're off course, we wake up eventually and notice, oh, I'm not here now. I'm thinking about the past. I'm worrying about the future. I'm looking ahead to the future. I'm really not here. I'm really not living in this moment. We catch ourselves with love instead of with judgment, and we practice teshuvah. We come back, we return to the intention, the kavanah of being present. That's the practice in a nutshell. That's really all we're doing here. We're practicing Hayom. And I might suggest that this is our aspiration for Shabbat consciousness, to be in a state of Hayom. That is to kind of step out of the timeline of history or the timeline of our lives and just be where we are right now, and theoretically for 25 hours. But that's the Shabbat aspiration. 6 days of the week, we're living in the timeline. There is a before, there is an after. We are working with history, but this is, as Abraham Joshua Heschel taught, Shabbat is kind of this dimension of timelessness within time, a day that represents eternity, that doesn't have a before, a now, and a later. It is just all one. We're in eternity by being in the moment right now. That's the only place where we can really have an experience of eternity, is in the moment right now. And by the way, Alan Liu, in his book, This is Real and You're Completely Unprepared, essentially is making exactly that same point. Hayom, when is God our God? When are we in God's care? When are we connected to the divine? When we are in a state of Hayom and listening and attuned to what is happening right now in this moment. That's Psalm 95, verse 7. The psalm goes on to say, Al tachshu lebavchem k'merivah. Don't harden your hearts like your ancestors did at Meribah when they rebelled against Moses and God. Kiyom Masa b'midbar, as in the day of Masa in the wilderness, when your ancestors tested me, even though they had witnessed all the miracles. 40 years that generation provoked me, says God. And I said, Am toed livavchem. They are people of wandering hearts. They are senseless people. Hem lo yadu derechai. They don't know my ways. And so when we're in that state of having a wandering heart, of not knowing God's ways, of not really listening, of being in a state of confusion, of scattered mind, scattered consciousness, it's very difficult to be attuned to the voice. And we really cannot make progress through the wilderness when we're in that state of agitation and caught up in our thoughts. The only antidote to that is really to come back to this moment. And that's really the upshot of our practice. So it's always our practice every day, 5 days a week. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to cultivate this Shabbat awareness. But particularly today, I want to invite us to do this by perhaps releasing whatever it is that's getting in the way of our being fully present. So let's have a nice extended time for practice today. We'll have a nice extended time for some silence. And the practice is simple and not so easy. So let's begin just by finding a position in our seats or your cushion or whatever position you're in right now. And you can be in a supine position. You can be laying down. That's fine. Just bringing awareness to our bodies and the fact that we are, whatever you're doing, sitting, standing, laying down. And bring awareness from the screen and what's up here to the rest of this body. If it's helpful, you can close your eyes, or you can just turn your attention and awareness inward, shutting down the external distraction. We're just trying to bring awareness to within ourselves, what's happening, what's going on inside there. So I'm going to guide us through a practice that we usually do for those of you who arrive early to the sit. We do this pretty much every day, but I want to invite all of us to do this as a preparation for Shabbat. We're practicing Hayom, being in this day, meaning really in this moment, this very moment. Hayom Hazeh, in this, and this, and this. So we begin with our physical beings, just taking inventory of our bodies right now. Just think if we can notice something that we may not have seen or been aware of until we turn our attention towards it. Just noticing sensation. Any aches or pains or constrictions. And our intention is to bring more ease to the body, more spaciousness. So any constriction or tightness that you notice that's stored up over the course of the week in your neck or your shoulders or your back, lower back, upper back, your jaw, in your temples, in your hands. Let's breathe into those spaces of constriction, bring a little Shabbat. Let them relax a little bit, be renewed. What we're cultivating right now is full acceptance of our bodies just as they are. So if we notice anything that displeases us about them, don't judge ourselves. We don't judge ourselves for having that thought. We just let it go, let it pass. See if we can just be grateful for having bodies, for being embodied. for being alive in this body right now. Sit for a few minutes just with that. Noticing sensation, noticing what's happening in our bodies right now. Remembering to breathe, letting the breath bring that Shabbat ease to the stressed out, constricted, tight places. We move from our physical self to the realm of our emotions. And the question here is, what are we feeling right now? What emotions are present right now? Some of them might be, if we can notice them at all, and might be challenging to do this, might feel numb, might feel the feelings might be inaccessible. We'll just run through a few to see if they resonate for you. Are we feeling angry? Are we feeling fear? Grief? Sadness? Joy? Feeling some joy, some happiness, some excitement, some passion, some positive energy, gratitude. Are we feeling thankful? Guilty? Is there some guilt for something? Is there some shame? Shame present right now? And any other emotions or feelings you can identify. There's a whole spectrum right there, and we might check more than one box and have more than one feeling. They have numerous feelings. They might be contradictory. Might feel grateful. Might feel angry. Might feel grief and joy at the same time. And we welcome them all. We'll push any feelings away. Just really let ourselves experience each of the feelings as a gift, that we are feeling beings capable of emotions, and letting them be our teachers. What do you feel right now? Want to take that and connect it with the body. Where do you notice those feelings in your body right now? Grief in your heart or chest, gratitude, joy. We move into the next dimension, the dimension of our mind, and bring attention to thoughts in our head, in our mind. What's the activity? What's the nature of the activity in your mind right now? Is your mind settled, still? Is it agitated? Is it jumpy? Is it foggy? Practicing being still so we can witness the state of our mind, not judge it, not judge the state of our mind, just let it settle and see what's happening. What are these thoughts trying to tell us? What needs attention? We're holding awareness of our bodies, awareness of our emotions, and awareness of our state of mind. And we move from there to the dimension of our spirit, of our soul. Of course, it's a tradition to understand that on Shabbat, we're endowed with an extra soul, a neshama yetera, an additional extra soul. We can really think about it this way, that when we're still enough to practice Shabbat, we have an additional extra awareness that we have a soul, that something that is animating us right now, that is beyond our bodies, beyond our emotions, beyond our thoughts. A chiyut, divine life force, energy that is present in us. That's the source of our aliveness. So we'll spend the last few minutes of our sit together with awareness of that chiyut, aliveness. And just remember that we have a neshama, that we have a soul, which of course is related to the Hebrew word for breath, neshima. So if it's helpful for you, bring awareness to the breath of life that animates us, that represents our soul. And let's let ourselves be re-ensouled for the last few minutes of our sit together. for the last minute of our sit together. Maybe let the corners of the mouth turn upward into a little smile. To experience a little bit of the simcha, the joy of Shabbat. And if you're comfortable putting your hand on your heart space, if it's not already there, just to offer yourself that blessing, to thank yourself for showing up, being present for yourself, for honoring your body and honoring your emotions, honoring your state of mind, honoring your neshama, your soul, attending to it, taking care of it, tending to the pilot light that's always burning inside. And if your eyes have been closed, you can let them slowly open. No rush. Take your time. Gradually come back to the group. And silently offer a blessing for Shabbat Shalom, that everyone who's present now and all beings can experience the blessing of, even for a few minutes, being in a state of hayom, of being fully present to aliveness and to the wisdom that we can access when we're in that state. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and let's end our practice. For those of you who are in mourning or observing a yard site, to recite the mourner's Kaddish and put the name or names of those you're honoring today. And please, if you're not reciting Kaddish, if you would just stay present for a few more minutes to hold those who are, creating a community of support. And thanks to Jordan, who's holding our text space today, for sharing the words of the Kaddish on the screen. And if you're reciting Kaddish, I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit to recite it together. May Rabbah, Amad Divrach Hirtei V'Yamlich Malchutei V'Chayechon V'Yomechon V'Chayei D'Chol Beit Yisrael Hagala Mizman Karev Amen. May Rabbah Barach Lameh Amen. Barach Yishlach V'Yidba'ar V'Yitramam V'Yinaseh Yadar V'Yitalev V'Yitalal Sh'Yedusha Ela Mikol Birchata V'Shirata B'chata V'Nechemata Ta'amiran Ba'alma Amen. Lama Rabba Min Shemaya Chaim Aleinu V'Yalkut Yisrael Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Yamav U'Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Yalkol Yisrael V'Yalkol Yoshvei Tevel V'Yimru. Amen. Friends, thank you so much for joining us today to sit into Shabbat together. Really a privilege and blessing to get to do this. Reminder, we'll be back next week, following week of practice. Just a reminder as well to sign up if you haven't for the Shofar project, so that you'll get the opening emailed lesson this Sunday. And just a reminder that we'll be around next week for a full week of practice. I'll be beginning to sit on Monday, and Rabbi Mira Neshama Weil on Tuesday. Wednesday, very excited to welcome Rabbi Lauren Henderson, who will be teaching us and leading us in practice on Wednesday. Thursday is Rosh Chodesh Elul, and looking forward to Sarah Waxman of At the Well leading us. And next Friday, God willing, Rebecca Schistler will be here to lead us and help us set it to Shabbat together. So please join us for any or all of those sessions. We'll look forward to that. Once again, thanks to Jordan Pollack, who is holding our text space today beautifully. I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes to respond to any questions, or if people would like to share what came up for them or what their experience with today's sit. But if you're leaving us now, wish you a sweet, restorative Shabbat, however you observe it. Maybe you have a few moments of what we hopefully got to experience together today. Shabbat shalom, everyone. So I'm open to questions or responses, and I'll try to respond in the chat if you'd like to share any. And if not, I'll share with you Psalm 95, which is I was quoted from at the beginning. Because perhaps we'll change the Friday night liturgy for you as it does for me. So I'll share that. Take a look. There we go. I don't believe that Sarah Waxman has had her baby yet. So the plan is to see her on Thursday, but stay tuned. So Psalm 95, I mentioned, there are these 6 Psalms that precede Lecha Dodi, which is our kind of bridge into Shabbat on Friday night. But that phrase that always catches my eye and my attention is this phrase, Hayom im b'kolo tishma'u. Here it's translated as, "Oh, if you would only heed God's charge this day." There is a pretty famous midrash about that, cites that verse, which is about one of the rabbis of the Talmud who runs into the prophet Elijah and says, "When is the Messiah going to come?" Since Elijah is supposed to foretell the coming of the Messiah. And Elijah says, "Well, why don't you go ask the Messiah?" He says, "Where?" And I'm blanking on which rabbi it is, but the rabbi says, "Where is he?" And Elijah says, "He sits by the entrance by the gate to the city." So the rabbi goes to visit and sees the Messiah, and the Messiah is all the beggars who are sitting at the entrance of the gate of the city are wrapping and unwrapping bandages around their wounds. The Messiah says, "Well, I wrap and unwrap each one at a time, so that if I'm needed, I'm ready to go. I'm always available." And so the rabbi asks him, "Well, when are you going to come?" And he says, "Hayom, we come today." And the rabbi goes back to Elijah and says, Elijah says, "Well, what did the Messiah say?" And the rabbi says, "Well, he lied to me. He said he was going to come today, and he hasn't come. We haven't reached the era, the messianic era of peace and justice." And Elijah says, "Well, you didn't really understand what he was saying." And then Elijah quotes this verse. He was saying, "Hayom, today, I'll come today. Im b'kolo tishma'u, if you will hear God's voice," which we can take to mean, like, if you are really attuned, if you're deeply attuned to what is expected of us as human beings in terms of caring for this planet and for each other, then the Messiah will come, but only then. So it has this messianic personal and social transformative power. It really makes the connection between mindfulness practice and social change, that says that really what's going to bring us to that place is our capacity to be present and to witness what is true, whether we like what we see or not. Of course, and once again, that's part and parcel of the teaching of Alan Liu in his book, This is Real. Are we willing to look at what is real? Alan Liu is lifting up for us, well, part of what's real is that we are mortal beings, and we spend most of our waking hours trying not to think about that and the implications of that. But we need to, if we're really going to change. That's what's going to help us change personally. That's what's going to help us change collectively. So it has, I think, a lot of direct import in terms of thinking about what is it going to take for us to do what is necessary to avert climate catastrophe, and get out of our collective denial. So, okay, let me take a look at the chat. See Susan's question. What is the source for Shivite place Adonai before me always? I'd like to have that pasuk in Hebrew to use as a way to meditate as well. That's that is another great, of course, Shivite Adonai Lenegdi Tamid is from the Psalms. You can Google it, but it's a line from the Psalms, and is used frequently as a source of meditation. In fact, a Shaviti is a graphic representation that is used for meditative focus as well. That's Psalm 27. Someone maybe can look it up. Shaviti Adonai Lenegdi Tamid. I'm sure someone will find it. Harris asked, good question, Harris. We went through body, emotions, mind, why in that order? Okay, so there is in Jewish mysticism this idea of four worlds, which, by the way, is the framework that we use in a program that we have at IJS called Awaken, which I'll be teaching with Sam Pine-Smith and Rebecca Schisler later in the fall. Was offered last year. I actually am not involved in it, but the model is this four worlds model. And in Torah study, there is an acronym for Talmud Torah, for Torah study as a spiritual practice, called Pardes, Shat, Remez, Drash, Sod. And it corresponds to those four levels of Shat, the body, representing the body, Remez representing the emotions, Drash representing the mind, and Sod, which literally means secret, representing the spirit, the most ineffable aspect of ourselves, the most ethereal aspect of ourselves. So the progression is from the most tangible material aspect of ourselves to the most immaterial aspect of ourselves. And so when we get grounded, for those of you who arrived early to sit, try to have enough time for us to get settled in that way by taking inventory of our body, of what emotions are present, what's our state of mind, what's the state of our spirit. I find that a very helpful way, and it begins by saying, well, what's most accessible right now? We can't go right to the soul. We have to start with the body. That's the route, and that's really that's the framework for the Jewish lens on the world. This lens of Pardes, of starting with what's on the surface and then digging deeper, 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 or going higher, higher, higher. That's moving through various levels, and they're all sacred. What we might dismiss as the literal or superficial is not sufficient in and of itself. We don't stay on the literal level. But we know the literal level is the beginning of the journey to go to a deeper level. So if we understand ourselves and our inner lives as Torah, then we take the same approach to studying ourselves, to exploring ourselves by going through body, emotion, mind, spirit, soul. And also, it's interesting to me that I think, like, if I go through that, and actually, to the extent to which I can actually have an experience of my soul or my spirit, it's a lot easier to do that when I've begun on those other levels, which are a little bit more accessible. And sometimes those aren't accessible either. Like sometimes one can be totally numb and really it's like, I don't know what I'm feeling. It's just, I can't, either they might be there, but I can't tell what they are. And if one can accept that and say, all right, just going to let them come as they will. Same with each level. Let them reveal themselves just by being still. So thanks for that question, Harris. That's a helpful one. Sometimes people might say thoughts. How can you separate the mind from emotions? Well, none of them are separate is kind of the point. The body, the emotions are stored in the body. The thoughts are triggered by the emotions. And all of these are revelatory. They all are teachers. Again, I don't want to spoiler alert. I want to give you the whole Alan Lu book, but basically this is what he's saying. This is the upshot of it. It's really kind of although it's written for this time of the year, it's a great just primer on Jewish mindfulness, where he just says that what we really need to do is be still, notice these things, not be caught up in them, and see what they have to teach us. And we do that by not being attached to any of the thing, noticing sensation, but not being attached to it, noticing emotion, but not being attached to it, noticing thoughts and not being attached to it, but letting them flow naturally through us. And we will find wisdom in that. We will find the wisdom we need if we can do that without taking control. We do all of that by beginning by noticing our spiritual connection to something greater than ourselves. However we want to understand that. Could be the group who led us in that. Yesterday, Rabbi Andrew Goldstein led us in that meditation about being aware of connection just beyond ourselves. Same idea. I'm just scrolling through other Hayom prayers in our daily prayers liturgy besides right. So this gives, thanks, Lori, that gives special. Shechianu is my all-time favorite prayer because it's thanking God for this moment now. That's it. I mean, Shechianu is a great one. It's a great mindfulness. Whenever we say Shechianu, it's really an opportunity to say, like, let's manhaj that to this moment, to this time, being alive at this time. And the Hayom prayer, which is kind of it's a poem / piyut / liturgical song, is sung on Rosh Hashanah as the day. This is the day, but that's true at all times. It's just like on Rosh Hashanah, especially, this is a day of practicing Hayom. All right. I think. Let's see. Again, the link for the donations in Hawaii. Be sure again. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. That's the Hawaii Community Foundation. Thanks for those who shared. Thanks for those who shared in the chat, your questions, your comments, and your feedback, your kind feedback. Much appreciated. Really a blessing to be with you. And I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Thanks so much, Jordan, for holding your space. Thanks to each of you for being here. And looking forward to sharing the Shofar project with many of you starting next week. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.